All right. I think we are officially live as of right now, Shannon. Uh,
Yay!
Forewarning for everybody involved, we are struggling with some internet connectivity issues tonight. So we might have some stuttering, we might have some flubbed up lines and whatnot as a result of bad computer connections. But otherwise, we're here, we're doing a live show. Shannon, how are you this lovely evening?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Very happy that we are here to do this. This will be fun.
Me as well. Yeah, and kind of our general topic today is general conference for better and for worse, mostly worse. Uh, our episode on General Conference is going to be hitting Glassbox tomorrow. If you're a patron, I'm going to try really hard to get it cranked out tonight. After we're done doing this, I want to finish the edit. I hope to get it out tonight. If not, it's going to be tomorrow morning. In any case, that's the General Conference episode, and it's almost 6 hours. But we
Oh
still
my
have a
God,
lot of
yes.
thoughts from General Conference, and of course, we have listeners who have the opportunity to join us who may have watched General Conference, maybe not, hopefully not. So that's part of why we watch conference, so you don't have to. Uh, but of course, if you're seeing the posts online, if you're seeing people talk about it, friends, family, loved ones, anything like that, we would love to hear what is going on in your life as well. So yeah, we're just gonna give a few minutes to allow people to populate into the waiting room here. But Shannon, what are some of your overall thoughts about General Conference? We've now recorded it. We have watched all the sessions. Well, watched and read all the sessions. We've said a lot of words about it. How you feeling?
It wasn't nearly as psychologically damaging this time, I thought.
Okay. I
And
think I think I agree for the most
yeah,
part.
yeah. And because I mean, there's always been something on each of them that gets me super duper angry, where I'm trying to tell my heart to calm down, and that didn't happen this time, and that was good. I was happy about that. Um, but also, I mean, I came out of it going, these guys are tired. They don't know what to do or say anymore. They're just
hmm
tired, and it shows.
Well, and it's
Yeah,
like there's
and
such a
so.
finite well of material from which to pull. And when you already have, 52 meetings per year, and each meeting involves, teaching from the same well of material, and then you have to have every 6 months these conferences that like distill all of the teaching materials. And like it's designedly repetitive. Like that's the whole thing is it's to get people coming back, repeating and hearing the same exact messages over and over and over and over again. How do you not get tired with that?
Right. I what I wonder is they're shortening so many
Hmm.
things. I mean, church on Sundays is now what, 2 hours long. They've shortened the endowment session again
Mm-hmm.
just recently down to what, an hour, a little bit less or something like that. And I keep wondering, will they shorten general conference? Because if you do it where all 12 speak, well, the 15 speak, and maybe five out of the Q70 or whatever, and they're nods to the women, um,
Yeah.
they could do it in two sessions instead of
Oh,
five
100%.
easily. And I'm like, you don't need five sessions, guys. You could go down to two.
Yeah. And like uh, it seems like they tried to excise out the Sunday evening session a number of years ago.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they just keep holding on to the Saturday evening. And I think that right there is kind of our canary, right? When they cut that session out completely and shorten it down to four total sessions, I think we're going to see some interesting things happen at that time.
Yeah. Because at this point, they're not even a full, it's, well, the Saturday evening one isn't even a full 2 hours anymore.
No.
And it was what, an hour this time?
Yeah, I mean, it was like an hour and 20 minutes or something this time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
And
didn't even crack the 90-minute mark.
yeah. I mean, it feels like an overflow, really. I mean, I know they schedule more than they need in case somebody backs out who's not one of the 12. One of the important ones of the 12, I guess. Because if that happens, then they have somebody else give that person's talk or
Mhm.
just pre-recorded or some shit like that now. But they have, I think that's it really just feels like that's the overflow. and
Yeah, for
one
sure.
of the Q12. And so, yeah, or two, I guess two. Yeah, this time it was Gong and Bednar.
Yeah,
But yeah, so it's like, okay, it really it's unnecessary. But they also don't understand. And I know a lot of this has to do with the whole brainwashing method, which is repetition, repetition, repetition. But what they don't understand is that a more focused presentation has a much bigger impact.
for sure.
When you
Yeah.
when you spread it out over, 12 different speakers all saying the same thing, it loses the impact rather than and it's like an epiphany in a book. When you have somebody having 12 epiphanies all throughout the book, none of the epiphanies matter
But
because
you
it
have
has to lead to the one. Yeah.
but you
Yep.
have 12 egos that need to have their say.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah, that's
Yes,
true.
preach
I
it.
mean, I there was one book I read once where the author, I was just like, what the hell are you doing? Because all of the main characters each got their chance to yell at one of the bad guys. And it was just like the stupidest thing ever because each one of them was building up to this huge climax of them yelling at a villain. And I was like, you need just one, just
You
one.
just want
That's
if you
all you
can't do it in
needed.
one, then your story is
You
just too
all of
complicated,
them are
buddy.
stupid because they take away from each other. And so it's like if you build up to just, if you make 12 different points, then the impact is better than one point made 12 times
Right.
because
Well, and
each a point has its own impact instead of being spread out through all the others.
just considering the structure of general conference as it normally goes, isn't that kind of what it's supposed to be? Everyone gives all of their talks, and then the prophet comes up and speaks as the last speaker to round everything out, to reiterate all of the messages, and to send everybody off with 17 new temples, apparently. I mean, but it didn't feel that way to me. It didn't feel like each of the talks were building up to the crescendo of Rusty's talk. Rusty was just more of the authoritarian dogma. It was just more of the same stuff that we've come to expect from him. There was nothing remarkable whatsoever in his talk, other than him lying about, the gun clicking against his head. Because it didn't happen. It's just a lie, man.
Yep.
But like there that's to say that like I feel like when the prophet took the stand previously, like when I was a kid watching Hinckley take the stand, it was like a big event, right? Like Hinckley's coming up, he's going to summarize everything, he's going to leave us with a blessing, and he's going to tell us that he loves us, and a final testimony before we all get on our way. But it didn't feel connected. Like this, none of these sessions felt interconnected with each other.
Yeah.
They did hit on similar themes, don't get me wrong. There was a lot of the same themes, which is kind of the overall thing that we're talking about here, is like they're pulling from the same exact well of material, and the well is dried up decades ago. So it's a
It's
lot
like
of recycled
Hollywood.
garbage.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like Hollywood. Oh, this worked. Let's do it again and
Yeah.
again and again and again.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep. There
Except
you
it
go.
doesn't work anymore is the problem. It's just boring.
Hmm.
And the whole thing of, well, people are still watching doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Oh, we sold tickets. People must like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We filled the conference center 3 times. We must be doing something
Wow.
right. Good old
So
Bednar.
cool.
But we have, Julie has joined us here too. Julie, I would love to hear what your takes are. Since General Conference, have you been seeing people post on it? What has life been like for you since General Conference finished?
um, well, I was just up in Idaho to see our friend Tamer for his
Wonderful,
play. Yeah.
wonderful. Which I'm super jealous that you got to see
Yeah.
that.
So am I.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was the big thing this week.
Okay.
Oh, good.
So
Yeah.
Much
nothing
better than General
lucky.
Conference.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah, and I saw a funny girl with a
Funny
bunch of
girl. Okay.
friends
I've never seen that.
too.
Is that
I've seen
Yeah.
the movie.
a movie or a new musical, or what is that?
It's a musical, but
It
it's
was,
been put
yeah,
in
it was
movie
the
format
musical,
before.
yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Barbara Streisand.
And so, good old Streisand. She's a fun one. Yeah. We
Very
were talking
cool.
about her the other day.
Yeah, after we're done recording, actually. I don't think
Yes,
any of it
that's
actually made
true.
it to air though for
I don't think so. It
patrons.
was
I think it
while I
was
was
we were done.
downloading and we were
Yeah,
still
yeah,
chatting.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't know. And another couple of themes that were hit on in General Conference is missions. Oh my God, they must be dying for
Yes.
missionaries. It is
Young missionaries.
young
Yeah.
missionaries
Rather
specifically.
than
They
the
are
elder.
struggling hard.
Yeah. Than the couple missionaries. Yeah. It was moving back to the Kimball directive of every young man go. Um, that's another thing that I was noticing in this is that because Hinckley moved away from that, he moved it to make it the worthy ones. Let's raise the bar. Let's not, don't send them out for the mission president to fix them. Back from that more, which is really sad because they cause so much emotional damage to these boys. But you also have so many of these young ones, even more now, coming home early because they're going out too soon. They're too young. Changing the missionary
Mhm.
age to 18 was a ridiculously stupid thing to do.
Yes.
18-year-old boys are no more ready to go than a 19-year-old was.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like that doesn't imply that 19 is a smart age for missionaries
No,
Yeah.
either. It's like they
yes,
don't
it
know what's
was
going on.
a better age.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they should be doing now is they should have moved them all up to 21.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so,
But they
yeah,
moved it to 21 and hoped that the woman wouldn't go.
yeah, probably. Or they just
Yeah.
assumed they'd be married by then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they
Yeah.
weren't,
The
well,
21,
then,
it was a stopgap, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it really, when I was getting ready for mine, when I went on mine, it was women, you would be encouraged to go if you, and so the
Mm.
the last companion I had actually, who I trained, she had a fiance at home, which I was like, why did they send you out? She's like, I just really wanted to go. Which was just so odd to
Fascinating.
me at the time, which I mean, now it's less of a big deal. And now, a girl at the age of 18 or 19 can go through the temple if she wants to. Whereas when I was that age, you went through the temple only if you're getting married or going on a mission or you were at least mid 30s. And so, yeah, it's just
That is interesting.
it's weird and it's dumb and it's so misogynistic, but
Yeah.
of course, this is the church, so of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, was it the case that you would go and like do your endowments like just a week before you got married, or was it part where you would do like you would get your endowments at the same time that you're doing the actual sealing
It used
ceremony, the
to be the
marriage and
same
sealing?
day, but
Yeah.
then they like changed it to like the day before, at least like
Yeah.
week
About a
before at
week
least.
before they would allow
Yeah.
because the groom would take the bride through the veil at the end of the endowment so he could learn what her secret name was. Because she couldn't just tell him in the
Right.
celestial room, you had to do it through the veil. In fact,
Uh,
when I got married, because I'd already, I'd been through the temple years, so we had to, my spouse, they had to take me through the veil right before on it, so we didn't go through a session before the wedding, but this was at the Provo temple because I really didn't care what temple we were in because I was like, I don't care. I mean, the only point to go to another temple is for the pictures outside. I was like, I just don't care. I didn't even have a fancy wedding dress. It was just
all right.
one I was going to use as my temple dress afterwards. So I think I had 10 photos, posed photos taken. All the rest were at the reception. Anyway, so weddings there. We were the only one that day. And I'm having to tell the temple workers everything. What to do. So I was like, they're like, okay, let's take you to the sealing room. And I was like, don't we have to go to the veil, do the veil thing with the name? And they're like, oh, well, didn't you do that last night or something? I was like, I've been through the temple for the last 7 years. And they're like, oh, yeah. Okay. So they had to go grab Alexis and we had to go to the veil and go do our thing and then sit in the celestial room for a while until they're ready to take us through. And it was just hilarious. They're stumbling through all of it. It was just funny, but yeah, so
How strange.
it was up to a week before because generally speaking, you didn't break it off that close to the wedding. So it was okay for him to know what your
Okay.
secret name was, because you probably weren't going to break it off
Yeah.
unless
Yeah.
you like had sex on your way
Yeah,
to the temple,
exactly.
because
It's like-
they were telling you to not even ride to the temple together because people would break their morals on the way. And I'm like, really? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I mean, that is Mormon
Superstition.
premarital danger zone right there, is sharing your name.
It
What's your
was
name,
so
baby?
What's your secret name? Of course, you
It's
can't know what your
ridiculous.
husband's secret name is.
No,
You
no,
don't
no, of
get to
course
know
not.
that one.
No,
No,
no.
no. So, yeah, that's
Because it would just be, violating chivalry if
it's
wives
violating
knew what their
something.
husband's names
Yeah.
were. Yeah, exactly.
He
We
gets to
can't
know
have
all the
that now.
secret names of every one of his wives. And since there's
Hmm.
only, how many did they use? Like 45 or something?
I don't
You could
know.
legitimately have
Of
all of
women's
your
names.
wives be the same secret name.
Be a luck of the draw. Uh, it's highly unlikely, but there is somebody who that has happened to.
I'm
We got
sure there
millions of
No,
is.
people in this church.
well, if you have like 31 wives, just marry them all on different days of the month, and then you're good.
Or just pick for your wives all the ones who went through the temple at the same time together. Just go in the temple room and the endowment room, be like, okay, I want these 3 rows. These will all be my wives. I mean, the women don't get
Wow.
much choice in this whole polygamy
No,
thing.
no, 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 of course not. Uh,
Oh
sometimes we get
God.
a little too real.
Yes,
Uh,
we do. I want all the
oh
blonde
wow.
women and
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's a 5 cow wife. That's a 6 cow wife. I'm
I
looking for
want
nine
all my
cow
wives
wives
to
here.
look the
Oh, honey,
same
you
so
ugly.
that the
Yeah.
children are interchangeable. Yeah.
You don't even have to remember all of their names. Uh,
There's
good
in the
times.
time. Yep, yep. Oh, Shannon's gonna go on a tangent. Never mind. So back
No,
to general
please do.
conference.
Please do.
I was gonna say,
Because I
well, back in the time when people had personal servants all the time, the gentry and stuff, there were plenty of the gentry who didn't like learning a new name like the women who didn't like to learn a new name for their lady's maid. So they just always called their maid the same thing.
yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, multiple wives having the same name is called having a backup. You're
No.
right, Will. That's exactly it.
Uh, oh wow. Back to general conference and multiple wives.
Right.
Yeah, I mean there was plenty of like the heteronormative shit that we were expecting, but obviously, or not obviously, but surprisingly not as much as I was expecting. Like heteronormative stuff kind of took a back burner here
It
compared
really
to
did.
past general conferences, which I found kind of
Yeah.
strange.
It was strange, but kind of nice
Yeah.
because that gets really
Yeah.
annoying at times.
Well, and I wonder if it's just something that they recognize as wildly unpopular in the church, with being bigoted, and like how many members begrudgingly agree to believe in it. So instead of hitting a hard on one man, one woman marriage, and hitting the issues head on, it was much more oblique. Like Oakes referenced the family proclamation to the world, but that was it. He didn't spend any more time on heteronormativity beyond just referencing the family. So, I wonder if they're just recognizing that it just doesn't hit with the younger generation.
Yeah.
Their market research has told them, like, the more you hit this, the more you see people leaving. So maybe stop being bigots live
Yeah.
on air every 6 months.
The more backlash they get from it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something I wondered.
Yeah.
Hey, hi, Will.
There's Will.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Doing good.
Guys and
It's
gals.
like you have
Super
some
like your background.
Alex
Thanks.
Gray background here almost.
Yeah. I,
The
for some reason, it thinks
clay.
that mandala is part of my head, so that's why it shows up.
I think it's your headphones. It's why.
Yeah, that too.
The color of your headphones makes it different.
Although it doesn't
Yeah.
exactly take away from the background.
No, it doesn't. It fits right with it.
It's true.
Kind of great,
I
actually.
did. Yeah. I'm really actually just hiding a bunch of paper mess because I've been doing some cleaning.
You may
but
hide anything you want to hide. That's all right.
Absolutely. Why do you think the camera faces a wall so nobody can see the rest of my disaster zone office here?
um, sorry to take us off of a general conference. I was going to say that I don't trust like now that in the journey of life that I've had, I only trust Mormons that fall asleep during conference. Like that is a practice that the overlords do to put them to sleep and hypnotize them. Anybody who stays awake and takes notes during conference is I wouldn't trust them to sell me anything or
TBMs,
if
you
they're not
mean?
falling asleep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I used
but
to
here's the
fall
thing: is
asleep.
that's what ex-Mormons do is we watch the conference. Like we pay
And
attention to
don't
what's being
trust
said.
any of us ex-Mormons. Stay the
So,
fuck away from us.
exactly.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Very true. Very true.
I find that fun. A lot of us who are watching conference just to cover it or just to talk about it or just to tweet or, Reddit or whatever about it, we're paying a lot closer attention than every Mormon who's fallen asleep on the couch. I mean, certainly more than them. And arguably more so than most like seminary students are. Like I remember being in seminary and having the assignment to watch conference and take notes, and I did. I was like, this sucks. This is boring. I hate this. I hate every moment of this. So I did it only the once. I refused to ever again.
Only time I ever did was on my mission. And that's because my mission president required it of us because he said it's your marching orders for the next 6 months. And so, yeah. And we were required to go. And we had a general authority come through to basically check over the mission and make sure everything was being done right. And he was a bit daunting to meet, I remember. But he actually criticized my mission president for that. He said they should be out proselytizing. And if they're at general conference, they should be having an investigator with them. And that's the only way to be going. And my mission president disagreed with him and just said, no, it's their marching orders for the next 6 months. They need to hear it. And so that was the one thing he refused to change, which was interesting watching the two butt heads. But yeah, but the one thing about it too is with that in mind was TBMs, they just hear a few things here and there. They pay attention to their favorites, like I did growing up listening to Paul H. Dunn and Neely Maxwell and whatever. But it was like, but the ones that do, they hear little sound bites, and that's all they talk about, but they miss a lot of the really shitty stuff. And so what was interesting to me, I didn't talk about this on the thing, but I've thought about it more since then, especially now with what Will just said, is where I was looking at stuff, knowing exactly how a TBM would interpret it, the exact opposite of what I was saying, and what kind of discussion, it could end up happening between us, or even an argument about it, because I would say, well, what that means is this. It's not meaning what you say it means, because it's like one person who said to me that they like having all the different versions of the first vision because that strengthens their testimony of Joseph Smith, which to me, I was like, that's the exact opposite, because I mean, they're so vastly different. But I didn't argue with them because I knew what they were doing, which was trying to reconvert me back.
well, was it at a point where you could have been? Because I have a theory on what they may have actually been, or another theory of what they could have been trying to do.
No, they do this periodically, just out of the blue, will throw something like that at me to because they're not happy with me having left the church and being an anti-Mormon podcaster. And so just random things here and there. I would think they're listening to the podcast, except none of them apply to anything that we've talked about recently. And so it's just random things here and there. But tell me your theory.
So sorry, you said it was your family that was sending it to you, or who?
No, it's a person I know. Yeah.
Okay. So like okay, conspiracy theory. I should get my hat.
Yes,
Oh,
get
do
your
we get
hat,
the
definitely.
tinfoil hat?
All
Now we're
right.
talking. Yes,
What
please.
what they're really doing is they're giving a layer of protection to your friend that the friend can then like throw at you to buffer you away, and like it's for your friend, it's not for you.
That would make sense too. Yeah.
Trying to keep the
Yes.
trying to keep the Mormons asleep.
Trying to keep me from oh God, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Oh God. contaminating everything
Mhm.
around him. That's it.
I thought you were
Yeah.
going for awakening because it's such a laden term. Yeah.
It very much is. Yeah.
No, but see, they're sleeping. They're all sleeping through conference.
Yeah. Yes, they
Yeah.
are. Yes, they are.
Through
The
life.
funny thing about doing this, though, where we watch it and analyze everything, is when people some of them especially will bring it up with me to show me whatever, and I'll say, "Oh, yeah, but they also said in that talk this," when I watch their faces, if, "Oh, are you sure they said that? I didn't catch that." I'll be like, "Yeah, go read it again. Go watch it again." Doesn't happen very often because I'm not around that person very often, but that's something I've always enjoyed. I had a roommate that would do that to me my second year at BYU when I wasn't going to church because I was too busy with school stuff. And so she decided to pull out her Book of Mormon and use it to try to convert me one day about why I should be coming wherever and to church. And I was like, oh, yeah. And you know what else is cool in that story is this, and this, and this that happened afterwards. And then I was like, but your explanation here is actually wrong because of this and this and that. She had this rather disconcerted look on her
That's,
face.
that's my favorite thing to do is just tread lightly and carry a big stick when it comes
Yes.
to, general conference or anything Mormon. It's like just being able to know the shit and somebody brings something up. It's like, well, actually, you're wrong for all these reasons. Like that feels so good, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, like it's such a tiny number of interactions
Yes.
disproportionately to the amount of time investment that is required to get the big stick to be able to walk around and maybe once in a while have a discussion with someone. But yeah, I mean, all things considered, it's still really great. Feels really good when it happens.
But yeah, it's like just a week ago with another individual in my family, I was talking about Charles Dickens because they had a Charles Dickens puzzle, and it's one brand of puzzles where it'll like I have a Jane Austen one, and it'll have all these different scenery areas of various things, and the poster on the back of it, it explains which book each one of them came from, or if it was her home or her family, and all the characters and everything else is really informative. I've got that, I've got Dracula, whatever. So we were talking about Charles Dickens when they had that I was going to borrow, and I was saying how much I don't like Charles Dickens. I said he's just too melodramatic for me. I really don't like him as a writer. And I says he also wasn't very good at editing himself because, he wrote himself into a corner in Bleak House, and instead of going back and rewriting it and fixing the problem, he just decided to kill off a character by using spontaneous combustion. Because it was something cool he heard about. And I was like, it's pointless and everything else. But I said, the one I hate the most of his is actually A Christmas Tale. I says, the whole story of Scrooge. I says, nobody changes ingrained behavior in one night. I said, it cannot happen. I says, I don't like that. That's like deathbed and repentance. And this family member said, well, Alma did. And I says, but Alma the younger did. And I says, Alma the younger was young. I said, he's what, a teenager, maybe 20s? I said, this was rebellion. This wasn't decades of behavior. I said, Scrooge had been doing it since he'd been 10. Since he was a young boy in school, he'd been like this. And this is what he'd been, this is how he was. He's in his 70s at this point, 60s or 70s. He's old. I says, Alma the younger, this has been going on for a couple of years, and he was rebelling against his dad. I said, completely different.
To be
And
fair, most of us don't get 3 ghosts a night. So
yeah, but that's also another thing where I was like, yeah, and Charles Dickens also
yeah.
fucked up his own writing in that one as well. Except I didn't say fucked up because I was talking.
Plus,
But anyway, I was
a
like,
goose the size of
because
a
he's talking
street
about
urchin would not be available Christmas Day.
that too. But I was like, these were supposed to have. He starts it out with one a night for 3 nights, and then at the end, it's like, oh, whoops, I'm supposed to do one each night. Well, instead of fixing that, I'm just gonna say, oh, it all happened in one night. Wow. It's like this is so stupid.
Yeah, and then
And
he
it's
has to
just a
come up with
dream.
content to fill all the days in between each of the nights, and like, who wants to do that?
Exactly. So
on,
he doesn't have time to
just tell the
contemplate any of
story.
it, whatever. Everybody has weird dreams
How
like
pissed
that.
off do you think Scrooge was every other dream he had the rest of his life?
Exactly. Is this supposed to be real or not? It didn't start with Marley. Maybe it's not. Okay, wait, I don't know. So anyway. But yeah, so that's another thing too, is where it gets interesting because I don't ever start discussions about church stuff with people ever. Because with TBN people, because otherwise they see it as me attacking, regardless of what I say. And so, but if they bring something up with me, I will make a comment like that or two, and leave it at that just to see how it goes. But I also know what it's like on that TBM side because immediately your wall goes up and you feel, once that defensive feel of, oh, they're attacking me and they're attacking the church and they're attacking me because of the church and all that shit. Then I know they're not going to listen, and I know exactly what that 12-foot wall is going to be blocking, and that nothing I say is going to matter. And so I tend to just make the one statement and leave it and kind of go around and do something else and, agree with something of theirs and then go on and they handle it better. And so at any rate, it's interesting.
So can we address Tanner's background? By the way, Tanner, looking Walter White-ish and fabulous. But the background is certainly
where the hell did you get that?
Intimidation? What is this? What is happening?
I just Googled boy band audition photos, and this is what came up.
Now, y'all may not be able to tell. That is not highlights. That's just the color of this boy's hair when he has some.
That's not true. It's ramen noodles.
Yeah. Many moons ago, the Dogma debate live broadcast-a-thon. I wonder whatever happened to David Smalley.
Yeah, good point. He was a big deal for me when I was in college, which was an undisclosed amount of time ago.
Same here. But oh well. So that's a thing. It's good to see you, Tanner.
Good to see you too, Bryce, and your extended forehead.
Yeah. I'm extending it every day. I'm working really hard on this. All right.
Yeah, one day you'll get there.
One day I'll look fabulous and beautiful like you two.
Oh my God. We got 3 of us here that are fully bald. One halfway is. Julie, you're just not like the others.
Yeah, it's hair. Everyone cares.
Julie, you and I just need to do a shave party just so we can finally fit in with this group.
Yes, we do.
We'll be a full hand. All 5.
Yeah, okay,
Us,
fine.
yeah.
I know. I have 2.5 fingers on the one, or 3.5. Sorry.
We'll be the quorum of balditude.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's a great picture, I gotta say. How old is that picture, Bryce?
That was 2014, I think, probably.
Okay.
2015. So
Yeah, that would have been when you're just starting
yeah,
podcasting and all that.
Jesus.
yeah, close to a decade
That made
ago.
you lose all your hair.
Yeah.
Clearly, here I am.
It's
Yeah.
okay. Being bald is a blessing. It means that you haven't been resurrected yet. You still.
Yeah,
When-
yeah. If my
Keep
hair
track
gets
of
like
all
really
these.
short, it gets to be a fro.
Yeah.
Because it's so curly.
Oh my.
I got pictures of me like a 3-year-old. My mom would like cut it real short so she didn't have to do it. And it's like a fro.
My
That's
mom would-
embarrassing, except when I grow my hair out, it resembles nothing so much as a dandelion spore. Just picture it.
Same.
That's the hair
Same.
I have.
Mine gets really thin up top, and that's what was happening. I shaved it all off a couple weeks ago, and the amount I had, I took a picture of it and sent it to my siblings just to warn them, because they are always shocked when I go bald. And I was like, this is all the hair was. I was like, this is how much there was last time my daughter cut my hair. That's how much she took off, just to let you know. And so, yeah, that was fun. But I think about my hair, and but also teenagers are really nice to me at the store. And so because they all think I have cancer, so they come and help me,
Well,
and it's really sweet.
Can I just say, it works super well with your smile. It's adorable. I'm not
Thank
even kidding a little bit.
I like being, I seriously do. Like, I learned that when I went through cancer back in 2011, when my hair fell out. I was like, oh, I kind of like being bald. And I had said if my hair didn't come back thicker than it had been, because it's just thin, I was like, I'll probably just shave it off and go bald again, which my daughter didn't like that because she's a hairdresser. But but I'm like, no, I just like it better that way. It's just easier. It's easier to deal with. I would love to get a tattoo on the top of my head. I've talked about a dragon, but actually what I'd really love to do is some type of a mandala across the top. But
What is that?
This right here. See this?
There you go.
That's a mandala.
There's
It's just
various
the
ones,
fractally circle spiral
Yeah.
thing that you see when
Oh.
you take DMT.
yeah,
That's what my son wants too. He wants sleeves of that.
yeah. And that's just something I would love to. There's like 3 designs I have that I would love to have done. And I might still do it like a henna tattoo or something. But yeah, I'm on too many blood thinners. They won't, no tattoo artist is going to touch me. So damn it. But that's okay.
Well, and also to be fair, I think that this skin is probably really sensitive to get tattooed.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
normally you'd bleed a lot. I'd be like, I'd
Yeah,
probably
exactly.
bleed a pint of blood easily.
It's what if you had like non-permanent like sticker tattoos kind of thing? I think that is there a place I would buy glass podcast sponsored like helmet heads
tattoos.
You got 3 customers right here.
That would be fun. Oh my God, that would be really fun.
I dig it.
I mean, a henna tattoo would work and it would last for quite a while, really. And that would be fun to do. But yeah, I still think about it sometimes. Kind of need money to do it though. So it'll take a while before I can spend money to do something fun.
We should wear wigs next time.
But yeah. There we go.
I'll send everybody a wig.
We'll all wear that one that I had on in A Few Good Men.
Yes,
no.
please.
What was it?
So you know when you run over a possum, but it like sits on the road for several days and dries out?
Yes.
That's what it was.
Because I'm thinking A Few Good Men, that would be a military crew cut. So okay, got it.
That's what they tried to do. They took a really nice wig and they put it on my head, and then they cut it and made it look like what I'm sure Bryce is about to show you.
I'm trying to find it. We'll see. I'm working hard.
He owes me one because of my background.
What part did you play in that?
So I had 2 roles. One was just like, I don't know, a guy standing behind the head military dude for one scene, and then I was the doctor, the one that tried to cover everything up. Yeah.
One, that guy from
Christopher Guest who played in the movie.
He was in, oh God, wasn't he in
Princess Bride, A Mighty Wind, Waiting for Guffman?
There's also, well, he agreed to do Princess Bride, Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap. Wasn't he in that?
Yeah, he directed and was in it.
Yeah, he agreed to do Princess Bride as long as, what's his name, the director, Rob Reiner, had the hat he wore in Spinal Tap, as long as he found some way to put it into Princess Bride. And if you look in the kid's bedroom, it's hanging up in there.
I love that. Yeah. That's perfect movie.
Yeah, he's. I know. You can tell anybody who's seen it.
Turn it up to
11. Anybody who's seen it. Oh my God.
I'm unable to find the Tanner wig picture.
I'll start looking.
I mean, it was so long ago. It's so hard to remember when it happened. Scrolling through the phone.
A couple years ago.
But it was magnificent.
I have been in many things, and Charlie Brown. I'll find the picture, Bryce.
We can, by our forces combined, maybe we can find a picture. I know I sent it to the Discord a long time ago.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good place to find it.
Yeah, and your cousin didn't recognize you. Didn't remember your show.
So, okay, general conference with the rest of you here.
Well, yes.
Get back on topic. What did any of you watch any of it or see anybody talking about it afterwards or anything like that? And what did you think?
I watched RFM's review. I didn't watch conference though.
Good choice.
Yeah, the temporary commandments seem to make a splash on Twitter.
That was interesting. And my thought on that was, I wonder what's coming up that they're going to make temporary. Because this, with Dallin Oaks being the one to announce that, to say that, I'm like, what of the, because it won't, it won't be tithing. It absolutely will not be tithing. That's one of those that it was a temporary to be made permanent in their mind. But what other things are going to be?
I'm just wondering if it's
based on famous social media Mormons, it's going to be soft swinging.
Nice.
True.
Because I'm like, what's it going to be? Something like Word of Wisdom? Is it going to be,
Could be.
what is it that's not one that Dallin Oaks gives a shit about? And
Yeah.
so, I don't know.
I mean, there's been rumblings that they'll get rid of coffee because that makes the church look too weird.
It's
You know,
stupid too, because
Yeah.
there's too much scientific evidence that it's not bad for you. But that's when I'm like, yeah, that would make sense on that one. But especially things like with tea, so many herbal teas
Yeah,
that
they're
get
actually good for
approved,
you.
but not black and green tea, and that's stupid because black and green tea are more healthy for you than sodas are. So therefore, yeah. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
at this point, you can do literally anything at all with the word of wisdom that you want to. there's no caffeine in the word of wisdom. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
We don't
not.
see your head though, Tanner. Like
Yeah, we can't see your head.
Yeah, I
I
know.
was
I'm
trying
trying
to
to
change
figure out how
mine
to do
too.
that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can just
There's
show
my
the
big belly.
picture on the phone here. I can do my best as long as I'm talking. People can see. Oh,
Oh,
hey,
there we
it just
go.
automatically cut it out. There we
That
go.
is absolutely not a military haircut in any way, shape, or
Interception
form.
They actually, that's
Okay.
before they cut it. So it started out that bad,
Oh my
and then it got much worse
Of
from
course,
there.
most movies they do not get the
Yeah.
military cut right. Because my spouse used to be in the National Guard, and so I learned how to do it so that we didn't have to pay somebody. So that every time they had a guard weekend, I would just cut their hair right before. And but I'm like, yeah, that's not a military cut. It's absolutely not.
There's me being
Yeah.
fierce.
Yes, that's a fantastic picture.
What's that from?
That was our Renaissance
Oh,
cruise.
nice.
I was clearly the Black Knight,
Got it.
and I won
You won.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Who won?
the
Now,
duel.
please
We had
tell
a big
me,
duel.
I'm not dead yet. Please tell me
Yeah.
you said that.
Oh,
We
Jake!
found out
We
you
did a bunch
stayed.
of. We based the choreography on the lava scene at the end of Revenge of
Oh,
the
God.
Sith. It was a really good time. We only nearly killed. It was just one of our guests that we nearly killed. Just one of them. So not
That's
a
a
big
good
deal
showing.
even.
Good showing.
Yeah.
A successful night.
Oh my God. That's
Sorry,
funny.
conference. It's so important.
Well, I was about to say, I see you still have all four of your limbs, so you didn't really get into the part. So
Yeah.
This is true. Yeah. If I really cared about my craft, I would be limbless.
Mm-hmm.
I'll bite your legs knees off.
General conference. Yeah, there's we can talk about that thing, I guess. It was awful. It was terrible, and I didn't enjoy it one bit. And yeah, I mean, I guess I can pull up my notes here. We can talk about a couple of the bullet points within it here. Lots of stuff of quoting Rusty, lots of stories of Rusty, just so much Rusty worship, y'all.
Oh, much.
Well, yeah, I heard that
Oh
they
my God.
accidentally like put a picture of Rusty instead of Jesus. So
Yep.
Yeah.
They
No,
fixed it
they
by the
didn't
time they.
accidentally do that.
that's an accident.
No, they didn't. Though they did fix it later because by the time I saw it, it had been fixed. But yeah, it was, yeah. I
I
just laughed so hard
I've
at
been
that.
calling it the popification of the Mormon prophet. Like they want this, they like, so what happened to the Pope? They're doing that with Mormons.
The
Yes.
cadaver synod.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it exactly. Yeah. But Uchtdorf's talk, his entire talk was
Yes.
Jesus focused. It was nothing about Rusty, nothing about any of the other apostles or anything like that. It
Dude
was
is
straight
giving the
Jesus.
talk for
It
the
was,
job he wants,
that was
not the job
impressive.
he has.
Yep.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
got his little contingency of, apostle voters,
Well,
and he's just catering to
Yeah.
that
well,
audience.
pretty soon, like Rusty and Holland and all those guys are gonna go soon. So he's like after them, he's like second. So we'll probably get him after Oaks.
That makes me feel
So-
really old. I remember him being the super cool new Pokemon.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, he's fourth in line at this point.
Yeah.
So we've got Nelson, of course, who is 100 years old now. Then there's Oaks, Holland, who any day now this guy's gonna go. And then
Gonna go any
Hiring,
day, too.
who's yeah, he's 91. He's in bad shape. And then Uchtdorf comes after him. But then after Uchtdorf,
And
we've got Bednar.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we do talk about that on the the episode that's dropping tomorrow too. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And
they're
the point that we also make in that too is that like Bednar, sure, we can hope for a presidency of Uchtdorf that is going to last for a who knows how long once Holland kicks it and we got Uchtdorf up on deck, right? But what is he fighting against, right? And how much power is he really going to have as prophet? Because like there's so much institutional conservatism that is going to reject the progressive at the top. And
Yeah.
the guy that's up next in line is Bednar, who has plenary authority to undo anything that Uchtdorf does. So what are we really expecting to happen here?
Yeah, I think
I have
because
low hopes.
unanimity is the rule, right? That's what constitutes a revelation.
Yep.
And it's the total equivalent of Trump stacking the
Yep.
courts. The 12 is stacked now against Uchtdorf.
Yeah.
And that's where you have a real problem because I mean, Oakes is strong. He's a strong one. He's the one running things now, as we all know. Eyring is a wet fish. If we end up with him soon, which legitimately could, but I don't think he'll outlast Oak's life. But if we did, he would be very weak. There's nothing he would get done. He'd probably
Yep.
be the weakest prophet that the church has ever had. He
Placeholder.
just will be a stopgap until
Yeah,
we
he
get to
would
them.
just
But
be
Uchtdorf,
like in a
yeah,
wheelchair all the time, not be
yes.
able to do anything.
And
Like
Uchtdorf,
if
there's a
Benson
lot he'd
was.
have to fight against. There's a ton he'd have to fight against because Nelson is rolling us back to Benson days and trying to eliminate everything of Hinckley. So I'm surprised he's not done anything to the pulpit yet.
Yeah, I
You know.
remember you tweeted somebody like said something about Benson.
Oh yes, Bednar did.
Bednar
quoted
Okay.
Benson.
Bednar started his talk with quoting Benson and saying that
Ooh.
Benson. I tracked the exact terminology that he used because it was scary as fuck, and even scarier that it was relegated to the Saturday evening session as well,
Yeah,
which is
last
even
talk of
more
it.
terrifying. Yeah. There we go. Got to go all the way to the bottom of the notes. He says, I was 33 when Benson became the president. His teachings and influenced me in that stage of my life in profound and powerful ways.
Oh no.
That's,
Not
I mean, that's
good. Not
that's a
good.
bullhorn. That's no dog whistle for what informs this guy. Like we know what he's actually telling us there.
Yeah, I mean that's basically just copying and pasting the 14 principles of following the prophet
Yep.
Yeah.
that Benson gave at BYU.
And Bednar's young. He's
Yeah.
young. There's not that many that are younger than him.
Young and full of authoritarian energy.
He's already got that. He came
Yeah.
into it just blazing guns because, I mean, he got his run at the BYU Idaho as president there, and like Holland did and Oaks did and everything else. They're used to running things, and he was a hell of a harsh president. Under his reign as president, he was not excommunicating, but kicking people out of the school for breaking curfew. Things like that. It's like, dude, really? Kick him out for cheating, for plagiarizing or whatever, but coming in an hour late on curfew, really? But that was enough.
My sister-in-law got kicked out by Bednar during his administration for cutting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's enough to do it.
Yeah, that's
Going
the
in
issue.
going in for depression issues, for suicidal issues, all of that. Any of those, that'll get you cut out. He's very, very harsh.
Yeah.
BYU Provo's never been as harsh as he was, even under Holland, even under Oaks, though regardless of what Oaks tries to say now, he still did electric shock therapy.
Yeah.
But
And then if you go to another college, they assume you
Yep.
cheated or something.
Yeah.
And you just
They
broke
assume you
curfew.
got kicked out for
Yeah,
some
'cause
really
that's what Annika
serious
is.
things. Yeah. Now, what I want to know is, and maybe you would know this, Tanner, but it's not something I really looked at much. What happened? Because I know how it was at BYU Provo and still is that the football players can get away with all sorts of shit. Can they? Could they under Bednar at BYU Idaho?
No idea. I don't think so. Sports were not a big thing at BYU
Okay.
Idaho, like at all.
Not like BYU Provo.
It was all intramural and
Okay.
not funded and stuff. So
Okay.
I bet if you were like, I think that what would help you skate by is if you were connected, like if you had an apostle in your family or your dad's the bishop or something. I think that might help out a bit, but I don't think being in sports would help out too much.
Okay.
That makes sense.
It's I wondered because I hadn't really heard of any, but I also wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, BYU Provo, they get away with doing drugs, they get away with sleeping around, they get away with breaking laws, getting DUIs, all that shit, just because they're football players. Yeah.
It's an NCAA tradition.
It always is. Ugh. So yeah, that's who we have coming up, who will be powerful and who will be in there for a long time unless something weird happens. But of course, they also have access to best healthcare because they got zillions of money. So we'll see. We shall see. I think that's the only reason why Holland is still gasping for breath. But
well, and Will put something in chat after saying, "I have a conspiracy theory." It ties right into what you were just saying there, Shan.
oh yes, Will says if Mormonism is literally true to TBMs, then at some point in the future there will be a president of the church that doesn't die. It's true.
Is it Bednar? Is it Bednar?
No,
Will?
it's Uchtdorf. That's the thing. As I'm saying, hold on, let me get my costume on so that you know I'm not
Get it all on.
fucking
Yes,
serious.
we need that.
Yes.
All right,
with
I
the
got my
hat,
seer
thank you.
I was
stone
gonna say, where's the
right
stone?
here.
Okay.
Okay, this is my version. It's a white one. I was thinking about splitting it in half and giving half to Bryce just to fuck up his patriarchal, like make his patriarchal blessing true. Okay, I put it in the hat. Okay, what it's telling me is, you know, if what they believe is true, then like technically there's like this rapture, at least like twinkling of an eye event, and so there will be an apostle someday that is never gonna die, and so you just pick, you know, you can have it. So you know, we could just pretend, at least ask our Mormon like believing family and whatever, like which prophet do you think will never die, or which apostle in the line, and then you know just try to persuade him that it's Uchtdorf, you know.
If that were to happen, wouldn't that be interesting? Just to see if he was the one who ended up being in there for 20 years and lived till he was 110 or something and was actually lucid until he was 109 and a half. What kind of changes would he be able to actually make?
And well, I think a lot of it also comes at the very slow roll of who he is able to call,
Yes.
right? Because like every next generation, all the junior apostles, that's telegraphing the direction of the church for the next 30 years after that. So whoever you call in is going to affect the change that you hope to see in 30 years after you call them. So like Uchtdorf having power to appoint and to call whoever he wants to be apostles, that could he have a massive shift, a massive change. But that also means that everybody under him needs to die off to open up vacancies so that he can call new apostles.
This just turned into a COVID conspiracy. Hold on.
Oh no!
Just kidding.
Oh, no.
I won't go there.
Well, and that's another thing is who is Dallin Oaks going to appoint next when whoever dies next? And I mean, I'm betting it's Brad Wilcox. He's bucking to be an apostle, and he is a shit person. And so to have somebody like him in there is going to be shitty. And
with how many diversity picks they've done recently, like we're due for another white guy. Come on.
Yep. Right. And there's what? How many diversity picks? One? Or do you count Suarez?
Huron counted as a diversity pick because he's British, right? So he's not an American white guy.
But he's got that Aryan nation look to him, so that doesn't count. That's
no, two halves.
I would be surprised if there's a black person.
I would be hella surprised if they ever did.
Still hung on that.
I'm not hopeful for a black person in any time in the foreseeable future. I mean, maybe another 30 years down the road we'll have one, but not right now.
Yeah, the guys there are probably still caught up on the curse thing.
Oh yeah,
they're not
too much to appoint
them.
Well,
every single one of them were like deep in their professional or church careers when the priesthood ban was overturned. So it's like, when you have Bednar up there saying, "Oh, Benson informed my entire world philosophy," and it's like, well, it shows the ilk, right? It shows
Kieran
the
is the youngest. He's 63 years old, so that makes him 6 years older than me. I was 11. No, I was 11 when the priesthood ban was lifted. So he was 17. He was the youngest out of all of them when it was lifted. So he had the priesthood when that happened, I think. Well, if he was baptized yet. How old was he when he was baptized? Do we know?
I don't remember.
I'll Google it.
Google it and find out. Yeah, because he did say he was baptized on Christmas Eve, and it was missionaries that did it, I think. So he's a convert. So he could have been. I guess he could have come in after that. So he would be the one. But, and Suarez is 66. Gong is 70. Stevenson is 69.
Nelson would have been 50, 50-ish.
So that's the thing you're running into. I think they're more likely to bring in another one who is either from South America, South or Central America, or like actually Spain. But I mean, you don't have any from India really. there's a few 70 from African countries. And I think that's probably the close they're ever going to get is the 70. But yeah, I mean, there's still no Native Americans in there now, is there?
Not that I'm aware of.
So,
Yeah,
There
I think
might-
George P. Lee was the one and only, and he was exed back in 1989.
Yeah.
Oh God, we got to do an episode on him.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's yeah. We
87
definitely
is when he
George
joined.
P. Lee.
Okay. Okay, so
So.
Kieran was baptized Christmas Eve, 1987.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that was 9 years after. It was a year before I went on my mission.
Which
Is that
is
enough time to erase the
No.
memory hole?
No, not at all. But coming into it, you don't have, but the problem we have is he's not going to have that long basis of it because he's in Britain. Here is that's stronger. In Britain, the racism there, I believe, is more towards those from India, the ingrained long running racism like you have against
Yeah.
Black people here in the United States. I could be wrong, so somebody correct me if I am, but I think there it was stronger against Indian people because that had been going on since the Victorian age or earlier. And so, because there'd be the Brits that would be in India because it was occupied by the Brits then, and they would have, say, an Indian ayah over their children, which would be like a governess kind of thing, and then they would go back to England and then just abandon the ayah there, and so she's stuck there or whatever. And so there was a lot of racism against them. You had it against Black people, but while the Brits were ostensibly against slavery, if an enslaved person managed to actually land on their shores, they were automatically considered free. They were no longer considered enslaved. They still quietly supported slavery because there were many landowners who owned plantations in the West Indies, and that's how those sugar plantations were done, was through slavery. But in the 1800s and 1900s, well, the 1800s really, they started more of getting in there, the abolitionists in there into Parliament saying, we need to stop allowing this to happen. We need to make that illegal in all of the empire. We need to, all of that kind of stuff. And so there was many of them that would actually boycott sugar that came from sugarcane. They would only get sugar that came from beets or honey. That's all. They wouldn't use anything that was harvested by enslaved people. And so anyway, Shannon's tangenting everywhere. So Patrick Kieran, as I'm saying, I don't think he would have the same ingrained racism in him as Americans have against Black people. Because that's something is still not gone. Many of us are working on it, but there's too many. I mean, we see it all the time. We see it with people excusing a police officer just randomly breaking into a Black person's house and shooting them. And so I think he might be the least problematic on that score, but he's also the one with the absolute least amount of power.
It's also the case where, like, when in Rome, right? If Kieran's entire social circles are people who are the quorum of apostles, who harbor these long-standing racist ideas, then one thing that's very adaptable about racism is that it's broad and it's vast, and it can quickly change to be weaponized against a different group of people.
Yes.
So how much is his previous non-racism towards African Americans adapted to change and made applicable to African Americans just by virtue of the company that he keeps.
Right.
So cultural wise, maybe there's an idea or some semblance of hope there, but I think that just because of the designs of systemic racism and him being at the top of the widest church and widest state, I'm not hopeful, I think is what I'm saying.
We got decades before he'd have any chance for influence.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing too, is like, how long does he have to spend sitting in quorum of apostle meetings with Bednar, who is quoting Benson, right, before he gives up the fight? Because Uchtdorf sure as shit decided that he's not going to fight this anymore. So if Kieran really truly is that progressive that we're all hoping he is, then how much energy does he have to keep up the fight that Uchtdorf threw in the towel?
Yeah,
And it's hard to
Uchtdorf-
tell too.
Once again, I'm not hopeful
because he's a PR specialist, and so it's really hard to tell. He's going to say what makes people happiest around him. that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Julie, you were going to say?
Yeah, Uchtdorf got the smackdown.
Yeah, exactly.
He got the demotion.
Yeah. What I'd like to see is to see them show true diversity by calling somebody who's deaf, somebody who's blind.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
None of them are. Nobody in the 70s is deaf.
Mhm.
Nobody is blind, as far as I'm aware. And I think they should call somebody who is. They should bring in
probably
a hell of
are.
a lot more. What's that?
They're 80, 90 years old. They're probably pretty deaf.
Well,
I know.
there's a difference between aging,
Yes.
like
That's true.
aged deafness or age blindness versus people who are, you know,
That's true.
Who are actually
Yeah.
deaf.
disabled or
Yeah.
who have the disabilities. And yeah, I very much agree with
Yeah,
you.
I would like to see that. I would like to see somebody disabled. I would
Mhm.
like to see all sorts of actual real diversity. We're not going to get women into the priesthood. That's never going to happen. They will never let that go. But they could bring in somebody who is disabled. They could bring in all sorts of them, you know, because I mean, yes, they will call somebody who's African into the quorum of the 70 to represent them. That's part of why George P. Lee was put into the 70s to represent Native Americans, those kind of things. And that's all well and good, but they're not
Mhm.
representing everyone still.
That would
And
be
they
cool,
could.
yeah.
They easily could.
Exactly.
But do they? So that's something I would like to see.
Yeah, that would be cool to see.
Yeah. Yep. And once again, like these are all things that we're hopeful for, but at the same time, like I think we're all being realistically minded about these things and how how unlikely it is. For example, I think it is much more likely that they call somebody who has been blind from birth into the quorum of 70s than it is likely they will call somebody who's African American to the quorum of apostles.
Yes.
Right? Like those two standalone propositions, one of those is more likely than the other. So you know that, like, I don't know. And in any case, like whoever does happen to be the first Black apostle or the first blind 70 or whatever, like the prejudice, the shit, the tokenization that they're gonna have to deal with. Like I would not want to be in that position. If I were that person, I would not feel it like an honor that I was called to this. I would feel like, oh, now my life just became so much worse because now I have to constantly advocate for myself. I constantly have to fight against institutional forces. I constantly, like, you know, whatever your day-to-day life is before that is completely and utterly changed once you step foot inside of this ivory tower.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing I wonder about just now is, do blind people get called to be bishops? After hearing that story, especially about the when he was called to be a bishop and he wanted one guy as the counselor, and they were like, well, he always wears sunglasses and everything. So they get the guy to stop wearing sunglasses to church so everybody can see his eyes. And I was like, what was the point of this story?
Yeah, that was a weird story.
It is a very weird story. And I was like, you know, some people wear sunglasses because the light hurts them and they have problems with their eyesight. They might be that, or they just may wear them because it's more comfortable for them because it gives them a bit of a barrier between them and somebody else. I mean, we all know people like that. So why force them to do that rather than make it a safe environment for somebody else? You should make them change to suit everyone else. And I think there's a balance, you know. Yes, and they also may be wearing them because they look dope and they know it.
Yeah.
Yes, that is right, Will.
Concur.
I shave my head for that reason. Yeah. No, but everyone needs to be a certain way. You know, do they call a little person as a bishop? Do they ever put him in a position of authority? Do they make him the young men's president? Do they ever do that? You know,
I've never
a
seen
state
it.
president or any of those
No.
things. Have we seen a little person that do that? That's something I would like to know too. But also, rather than just one, be willing to call many.
Yeah.
You know, because one is tokenizing, 5 is not. So, you know, if you have 70 men up there and 5 of them are blind or deaf, you know, and you got a few others that are, you know, you have somebody in there with polio, you have somebody in there who lost a leg, somebody in there, whatever, you know, you have all these different ones. It stops being a token and starts being just, this is life, this is the way it is. And how somebody looks, what their physical body is, makes no difference in their leadership abilities, because it doesn't. It should. Well, it makes some, because I mean, people like to look at somebody they like to look at, and they tend to follow them a little bit better. I mean, it's hard to deal with you know, Dallin Oaks up there looking like Gollum, some of those things, but still, you know, yes, looks have something to do with it, and charisma has something to do with it. And frankly, Bednar and Kieran have a hell of a lot of charisma.
Yeah.
So does Uchtdorf.
And your
They have
job
a
too.
ton.
Yeah. You're not going to get a blue collar worker in the 12.
No, they want people with money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the problem that you get as well. So yeah, I want to see everybody represented.
Yeah. Well, and it's this Ouroboros, right? Like the people who are called are the people who have professional training in some kind of relevant professional sphere, business, law, whatever it is, right? And therefore, once they get called and they get to a position of authority, position of leadership, the people that they choose to call are going to look and sound and talk like them, most likely. It's just much more likely that they do. So as you continue to call people who look and sound and act and are trained the same way, you create a more homogenous system that way, right? So like that just armorizes itself against anybody being able to make their way into, being a diversity pick. I just wish they would step outside of the shell, right? Like that's the importance, is you need somebody who is at the highest position to say, I am going to make a concerted effort to make more diversity picks and diversify the representation of the leadership of this church. And by the time somebody does ascend to that position, they have been hammered and their morals have been completely co-opted by the institution. They are not themselves. They are just one cog in a massive machine, right? So I don't know. I'm not, once again, I'm very pessimistic about these things. The more that we consider these things, the more we talk about these things, especially with a Bednar presidency on the horizon, the more I am pessimistic about this.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, and just culturally, we haven't come super far. We once again need to try to destroy Donald Trump, like.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Gordon Monson had an opinion page on the Tribune just a few days ago saying the church needs to take a stand against Trump. Trump is against everything the church supposedly stands for. The church leaders need to take a stand now.
They won't, though.
100%.
They really won't. They can't.
Nope.
It's not. It's like.
Well, Utah is his biggest base, right? Isn't Utah the most Trump state?
No,
I thought I saw that somewhere.
but
Not the most, but close.
Utah Republicans they call them the designated drivers of the Republican Party. Like there's that. I mean, who's your governor? Shannon.
It's Cox, I think.
Cox, yeah.
Yeah, like he's like that Romney Huntsman like vibe, and
He said he prayed and he was told to endorse Donald Trump because so we can all come together.
Yeah. See, but like he's being like he understand Romney was a tool, right? And Cox is also a tool. Like they're the tools of the Republican Party. So he's doing it because if he did the other way, he would get like severed out of the Republican Party in Utah. Like that's what happened to Jim Bennett. I was there during that 2010 wild convention.
Yeah, you got like the South is just about as red as us. Montana, Idaho, probably just about as red as us.
Yeah.
I looked it up, and West Virginia, where I just moved from, is third, and Idaho, where I now live, is fifth.
Okay.
What's number 1 and 2? Is it Utah?
So you got a little bit improvement.
Alabama and Wyoming.
Yeah. 1 and 2. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I knew it was one of those states. Like
yeah, it's
Utah's,
weird that Georgia's a swing state.
Too many ex-Mormons in Utah. That's the problem.
Well, Georgia's also super diverse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Dowd walks up there with his red tie and spouting stuff that I was like, yeah, he's voting for Trump.
And Will, you said it, they can't, right? Like,
They
because
can't.
it would be so painfully unpopular with the majority of members of the
A
church.
lot of what they do is I can't find this clip for the life of me. If anybody can find it, please share it and help me, like send it to me. Is like there's this thing where Uchtdorf is giving away the game in the sense of like how they're running the business, the corporation of the church, where they say like we let society go on ahead as like a vanguard and fight out these battles, and then once that part of the ship has sailed forward, we're like this anchor that comes and follows in behind. And so like there's a lot of these big decisions, like this election and stuff like that, where they're going to let the people, like the culture were to happen, and then they can always come out on the right side, at least even if it's 30 years delayed, they're at least like following this giant mass of like, basically what if you want to talk about like the demographics of the people around Joseph Smith's time, like those types of people are like now today's like evangelical Christians, and they're just kind of all, following the thing, and the church waits and then decides on where that group is going to go.
Well, I'm not remembering the Uchtdorf clip. I'm remembering the Holland clip where he
Maybe
talked about
that's why I never
society
found
moving.
it, because I kept trying to find
Yeah, where he talked about it, but
Uchtdorf
he
saying
was,
it.
I mean, he was doing it with his jowly shake. Society is moving forward, and then he was essentially saying kind of that sentiment where society moves forward and then the church kind of
I
is
know.
a
Well,
few
so he
decades
says it in a
behind.
way,
And
it's like we're holding, like we're the ones who are true, but like the other way of viewing that perspective is we're always going to just follow what looks best. Like that's exactly what every public company does, is like, there's not some giant woke conspiracy in all these companies. They just know that like they can make more money if they do this campaign or that campaign. Like it has
Exactly.
nothing to do with like, anyways, it's just money. They're just chasing the money, and the
Yes.
church is just one of those things, and they're also chasing the money, so I think that what they didn't really expect is the tithing cost right now, but in my opinion, they've already kind of hit the infinite money glitch, like
Yeah.
of reality.
Yeah.
They'll never not have enough money
Yeah.
to go do
Up,
whatever
down,
they're
left,
going to
right,
do.
up,
So
down, left,
like,
right.
exactly. I mean,
Triangle,
like
square, start,
the
stop,
more that I think
select,
about
yeah.
the temple endowment, the more that I think like, oh, like Joseph Smith wrote all those lines for Satan, but like he was like telling the Mormons, like, you can buy anything in this world with money. Like you can, here's the way out of the
Yeah.
garden, like, and then that we're like, Mormons are, at least the institution itself is just will always obsess about money and try to make more. Like
Yes.
I think that when you're talking about temporary commandments earlier, like I totally think that um, tithing falls into that category of being a temporary commandment, because it was uh, applied differently during different generations,
Like
but they're not going to
somebody's,
change that.
well, somebody said that, was it like Snow?
Yes. Joseph
That's
Fielding Smith, I
Joseph
think.
Fielding Smith said that they hoped to see one day when they didn't have to have tithing
The
Yeah.
time will
anymore.
come
And
when we will
that's
no
just
longer
what,
need
no,
tithing.
that's
Yeah.
just what you say to make people happy in the moment.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
So
This is
Gavin
only-
Oaks' attitude on that is time's not here yet.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
Yeah, like this is I'm I work in corporate America, and like it's not that I view my leadership as prophets. I view them as
Yeah.
business leaders, and
that's what they
I
are.
take that, and
They're like CEOs and
so like you would say whatever you had to get the current needs met, especially if it was an emergency, like we're running out of money, we're going to go bankrupt. You would use whatever words you could to save the institution, and even if you sincerely believed that it was connected to this higher divine cause, it's there's no difference between that and like what just a normal shrewd business run company would do. Like,
Well, I mean, let's also consider the flip side of kind of this idea as a whole, where like the institution, the leadership of the institution will say whatever is necessary to placate the stockholders in the immediate next 2 quarters, right? And
I love this.
the the leadership structure today, like they see that the church is kind of lagging behind, or at least we see that like society moves forward, the church is
But
kind of being
that's
dragged along
but they're
as
making
society
bank.
changes and evolves.
Like don't
Right,
look at
right.
where they're like how they stack up against like society. Think about the month, like once the revenue is going down, that's when the changes happen. That's when the temporary commandments come out. The
Right.
revenue
That's
didn't
fair,
dry
right?
up
That's
until
exactly
5
the
years
point that
ago.
that's exactly the point that I'm making, right? So like the society is moving and changing. They need to make changes. They need to invoke this language of temporary versus permanent commandments. They need to start at least building in some structures that they can make adaptations, like doctrinal changes in the future, without offending all of the pearl clutching conservatives, right? But at the same time, the church remaining as a regressive institution structurally this way, that means that the younger generations are constantly leaving. There's a constant deluge of them, right? So there isn't replacement value. So when you have a product that you're selling that is aging on the shelf, and the younger generation isn't coming in and buying it,
You diversify.
because it's a regressive institution, then what needs to happen, right? Some major changes need to be made in order for them to start getting new customers to come in and fill the coffers once again, right? So, yeah, sure, the church as a working model has lagged behind society 30 to 50 years. That's fine. That's just what conservative institutions do by and large. But because of the internet, because of constant connectivity, they are looking more regressive than they ever have before, and more people are informed about that regressive tendency than ever have been before. So there's
Online,
like they're
but like
yeah,
in real
online, right?
life,
Online.
that's like a protected, like they're living in a bubble of because it's not as regressive to them. Like they don't see it that way. The
Well,
ones that are
this
still in it.
until they come into contact with somebody who isn't actually progressive, right? And have a hard conversation. And that's where, like, yeah, sure, there's a bubble, but this is a perforated ass bubble, right? There's a lot of holes in this, and people are like, a lot of people, I mean, like, I consider some loved ones of mine who are, a generation separate for me, a generation older, like, they look at the current leadership as like struggling. They don't fawn over Nelson the way that I did over Hinckley as a kid, right? And they have much less holier than thou feelings and opinions about the church than they did even 20 or 30 years ago. So when those people who are still conservative, relatively conservative in their political leanings, are having problems with the leadership of the church, and that the younger generation are leaving it like it's on fire, then like those business meetings are starting to look a lot more dire, right? Where they're having conversations about how to retain the younger generation. And that's why we saw so many talks in conference about the prodigals, about the people leaving and coming back, about the people sinning and then coming back to the church and repenting. And this woman who had a really hard life, and she came back to church because she knew that she needed to break the habit of not going to church, and she needed to stay there until she wanted to go to church. And I remember hearing that as a kid. I remember hearing that exact same line, and it's sounding like a drag to me. And look, these are old guys that are sticking with their old, tried and true models, but the game board has fucking shifted under their feet, and they don't seem to realize that yet.
Wasn't
Yeah,
there
this
a talk? I think RFM in his coverage was like a talk where someone said that baptisms and retention are up. Did that happen? Am I remembering right?
They probably did, but
I don't
if they
remember
actually
that.
are, it remains to be
the
seen.
the LARP, they're turning on like they're gonna LARP that as well. Like they're gonna start saying that because when you change the metrics of how it's calculated, you can boost the number really high. I do this at my work to like when you want to there's lies, damn lies, and statistics, right? So like yeah, they'll change the metric to make it look better for sure. Like I could totally see that. So that
Yeah.
that's the lying for the Lord,
Yes.
but it's also just business practice 101 in America.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lying for the dollar.
Yeah. When the
The
Lord is the
almighty
comedy.
dollar. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anything,
but
any other thoughts on General Conference from any of you? I mean, we had the
The
requisite 3 talks from women.
the one takeaway that I wanted to talk about real quick is I saw something from David Bokovoy on Facebook. I tried to find it, but he talked about how disappointed he was that there's not more outcry against like Donald Trump and like dangerous movements that are out there. And he pointed out that biblically, and even in the Book of Mormon, and even in the early church, the role of prophets is never to just make decisions on policy and doctrine. The role is to speak out on social justice, to talk about politics. That's what prophets have done in every book of scripture that's canonical in the Mormon church. So it obviously is unethical to not speak out against this, but it also just means you're not a prophet.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, Joseph Smith was making laws in Nauvoo, laws to make sure that nobody could arrest him and
Yeah.
everything else. Brigham Young, look what he did. So yeah, they absolutely could. And they could even do it without saying his name. There's much they could actually do without saying be a Democrat or be a Republican, but they refuse to. And that's
Yep.
the real serious problem.
Mhm.
Because you can't be a fence sitter on that. You either are for or against on this kind of an issue. And when you have somebody up there who represents everything you say your church stands against, then you should absolutely stand against that person. But if you don't, then you are supporting that person.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the way it
Yep.
really, that's how it is. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm curious how this election's really going to go. I'm really curious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Went for
I'm
a ride.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm something about it. I don't think curious is the right word.
Well, you're in an important swing state, so
You
Yeah.
are.
your vote can do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, y'all are, I mean, a bunch of you were in Utah. Your vote counts for a lot of shit too. Like
Yes.
you're heavily weighted.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
And I'm actually quite pleased with how politically active the progressive ticket is here in Pennsylvania. I mean, I think I even said this on the Patreon segment of the episode that in the past week I've had like a bunch of pamphlets dropped off. I've had a number of phone calls to my personal phone asking who I'm voting for, and and all from progressive, all from the Harris Walls ticket. So it's like, yeah, it's clear that the Harris campaign is fully aware how important Pennsylvania is, and they are pouring a lot of money into the state, which is great. Great.
That's
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah, good to hear.
Yep.
Yeah. Hmm.
Because I mean, I'm in a blue little bubble here. I mean, I live in a neighborhood of university professors, so of course, most of them are all progressives, right? As well as medical doctors, so most of them are progressives as well, because like bodily autonomy and medical care and all that stuff. But it's 5 minutes in any direction. It's Confederate and Trump flags everywhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's interesting
Yep.
to see. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah, do we have anything else that we want to share? Because I mean, I would like to finish the edit tonight and get it posted. I don't know if I can, but I would like to. I mean, it's almost 6 hours worth. So I think I might be cutting us off here a little bit shorter than we
Okay.
normally do our live streams here. But I mean, do we want to continue talking? Is there any other topics that anybody wants to bring up?
I think we pretty much hit it all.
I think we did. Yeah. Yeah, that was a fun episode to record.
I'm glad that you made it through, Shannon.
So was I. There were so
Without
many times
shortness
where
of
Bryce is
breath.
just like, "Are you okay? How's your heart? How's your breathing?
Yep.
How's your head? Are you okay?"
Yeah.
Did you guys record it like
Yeah, that was
yesterday
fun.
or
Yeah,
Friday?
night.
Friday.
Yep.
okay?
Yeah. Yeah. 6 hours. At the end, I'm like, okay, I need dinner. I have
Yeah, for
meds to
sure.
take.
Yeah, if it's 6 hours, you need dinner. You need
Yes.
Yeah. After we were done,
breaks.
both of us were like, we need dinner. It was 1 a.m.
Yeah.
for me
Oh,
and,
gosh.
11 a.m.
11
11
for me.
p.m. for you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we could use dinner.
If there's no mustache coverage this year, I'm gonna send a big long message to Shannon.
All right. All right.
Oh,
So
damn.
You
I
did
don't,
mention
we
you did
didn't talk. Go ahead, Julie. Sorry.
Yeah, you did mention mustaches last episode when you were talking about.
I had a counter. I even had a stupid, sexy Flanders mustache counter at the top of my notes. I did not mention it during the episode. You know why? Because there were two. Two. That's all we got. Two cute or
Bummer.
delightful mustaches. That was it. And I was so disappointed by it.
That is a
It's
bummer.
disappointing. It's a bummer.
I now have no reason to watch it. I'm sure I'll have more to say about conference after I listen to your episode.
That's funny.
It was major disappointment on the mustache front. And they also they had a youth choir as well as a missionary choir there too, so that took up a bunch of the time. And I don't know, the last guy that you picked out, Tanner, as having the stupid sexy Flanders mustache wasn't there. I didn't see him in any of the choir shots. It's like, no, I like that guy. I don't know who he is, I don't know his name, but I like him. He's got style. Oh well.
Yeah, we should
right.
pick it next time. Like bring back mustaches.
Bring back the Flanders mustache. Yeah, well, I think that's going to round us out for this time. The episode, like I said, I'm going to try and drop it tonight. If not, that'll be dropping tomorrow morning. For patrons,
Cool.
patron subscribers, patreon.com/glassboxpod. If you want to support the show, if you want to support the journalism that we do of sitting through watching General Conference so you don't have to, that's a great way to support us. Otherwise, just showing up and downloading the episode or coming to these live hangouts and watching them live when they hit or after they air, whatever, that's a huge help to us as well. It helps us all in the magic algorithms that the data overlords use to control us. But yeah, Shannon, last words.
Well, I'm going to be writing up reviews soon on Patreon. It should be first one next week. So book reviews, since people like it when I talk books. So you're going to start getting more of those Dragon Mama reviews. So be
Are they
prepared.
essays or like video essays or?
They're going to be just the audio ones, and then we'll also post the essay of it on Substack.
Nice.
So that
Okay.
way, if people want to read it, I think what people like is just to hear me spout off for a while. But so you're going to get the option for both. So
Sounds
rather than
good.
reading,
Yep.
but
You're
yeah, those are going to start.
justifying yourself as the only reason why I ever log into Instagram anymore.
Okay, that works. So those will start up too. So yes.
Yep.
And yes, this has been fun. We always look forward to these.
Yeah, and if you are a patron supporter, there are going to be 2 videos dropping with the episode as well. Those are in the hopper, ready to be posted. But if you want to know what they are, you got to be a patron. Sorry, that's how it works.
They're cool. I got
yeah.
to see them.
Yeah, you watched them, Shan.
I did.
Yeah, they were fun to make. So anyway, all right. Thanks for tuning in, viewers and listeners after the fact or real time. We really appreciate you tuning in, listening, hanging out with us, and spending just a little bit more time on General Conference because we know we just don't get enough of that in our life, do we?
Sure.
Take care, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
All right, the stream is ending.
Okay.
And I think we are free. Yes, we are free. Yeah, scuffed ass recording because internet was super shitty. But
Yeah.
we got through it. Oh well. A little bit
Okay.
laggy, but
Yeah,
We did
it
it.
worked. No glitches.
yeah, it works. All right, so y'all are welcome to sit and chat. I'm
I'm
gonna
actually
jump
gonna
off. I'm
go.
gonna edit. So okay.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Sorry.
Are you
guys.
beginning editing or have you started yet?
I've
or-
done most of it. I have just a bunch
Okay.
of polishing and the patron extras that I gotta edit.
Are there softwares out there that can? You're probably already using something to like take out some of the dead space, but like, anyways, let this let the other guy know. Okay. Well,
Fair.
I can do it, but just not this
Editing
month.
is a
I can't do it
super manual
tonight.
process. So yeah,
Yeah.
and it's
Okay.
one of the tasks that I'm very efficient at doing. So, but
Okay. Well,
but
then
otherwise, I do appreciate it.
Yes.
all right.
But it was
Guys,
good to
have a
see
good
you, Julie,
night.
and
Thank
Will.
you.
It was good seeing you.